Hello, and welcome to another episode of All or Not According to Jack with your host, Jack Toledano. Today is September 3rd, 2022, and you know what that is? That is my wedding anniversary with my wife, Susan. We were married on September 3rd, 1989, so that makes 33 years we've been married. Wow. A lot of time has passed. So for this episode, what I decided to do was, you know, in addition to, of course, you know, paying homage to my wife Susan, you know, my gift to you this episode, but I also decided to have a little fun with it. So, uh, being a musical guy that I am, and the show being all musical, I decided to make this a musical episode talking about some of our common interests and some bands that one loves but the other one hates. So, let's go to the PowerPoint. And there we go. Okay. So, and there are going to be a few pictures scattered throughout. So, picture you see on the lower left here, that's Susan and I at the Grand Canyon a few years back, or during one of our anniversary trips. Um, this other picture is somewhere in the White Lake Bethel area, but yeah, Bethel Woods, I believe it is, the site of Woodstock. So my son used to work at a camp in this vicinity, at a Boy Scout camp of all things. And we were up there visiting. We stayed in a cabin, had a great time, and etc. etc. So before we get into our real content, I'll show you a few more pictures. Come on. There we go. Okay, so that's a wedding picture. I did take this picture through, and you can see some glare through the glass. I was a little too lazy to take it out of the glass. I think you could even see my hand there. Yeah, not a good job by me, I admit it. This picture right here is, so it was an early fall festival in a place called Old Westbury Gardens, and it was an old mansion that's now open to the public. And some days they allow dogs in. So, as you can see, our sweetheart Miley is with us. This picture is taken at my lodge during a Boy Scout pancake breakfast that we hosted for the Boy Scouts. Another of our Grand Canyon pictures. I liked them so much, I decided to add a second. One more set of pictures. I love these all equally. Ironically, all three of these photos are in Manhattan, New York City. So this first one, Susan and I with Samantha, this was taken at the World Trade Center, the 9/11 Memorial. This picture was taken with our son Jason, the day he graduated from college, Fordham University. There was a party at the top floor of a building in somewhere in lower Manhattan. Great time was had by all. This picture, as you can see, the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. Four of us, some point in December, wearing our heavy jackets. I love this picture. Okay, so to the content. Top 5 bands/artists that we agree on. So for this first segment, so there's 2 honorable mentions, and then there's the top five. So first honorable mention, the Carpenters, believe it or not. Uh, brings back a lot of memories for me. Uh, Having heard her voice when I was very little, you know, great songs, great sing along quality. Sing, sing a song. She does it better. So, and Susan loves them. What more can I say? This next honorable mention, I'm sure, is going to be a surprise to you. Not me, but to Susan. Deep Purple. So when we were dating in college, uh, I was in a real Deep Purple, you know, binge at that time, if that's the for lack of a better term. And you know, Pete and I were big Deep Purple fans, and for a while she was getting into it. That was probably, I think, the only hard rock concert she ever went with me to see. Deep Purple. Pete and his girlfriend at the time went with us as well. Great show was had by all at the Brendan Byrne Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. So that's Deep Purple. Next one. Number 5, Foreigner. We both like them very much. I know I like several songs off the first album. Cold as Ice, Feels Like the First Time, Long, Long Way from Home. Second album, Double Vision, Hot Blooded, Blue Morning, Blue Day. Then Foreigner 4, Jukebox Hero. Doesn't get any better than that. I could do away with Waiting for a Girl Like You, but whatever. So that's one mutual band that we can get into. So let's see the next one. Number 4, the Beatles. What is not to like about the Beatles? I think Susan likes their earlier catalog, whereas I like their later catalog, which is a little more experimental. I know my son Jason really likes their more experimental stuff. You know, they even play around with some psychedelic songs towards the end there, especially on the White Album. That album you see is Abbey Road, of course. So number 4, the Beatles. Number 3, the Eagles. As you can see, I tried to get album covers where their faces were on them. This is not their best album, but it is a good album. Desperado. I think Sue had Hotel California and really liked it. My favorite album, as I mentioned on Pete's show once, was On the Border, their third album. But definitely mutual interest there. We both love their music. Number 2, fellow Long Islander, Billy Joel. So what's not to like about Billy Joel? You know, he just some great sing along songs. I picked this album to display because I think he looks a little better there than The Stranger, an album which we both love. Great, great album, The Stranger. You know, he had a string of hits in the 70s and the 80s. You know, what's not to love? Okay, our number 1 mutual favorite band, Chicago. Whereas I tend to like their later stuff, or rather their earlier stuff, most particularly from albums, anything that they did prior to Chicago at Carnegie Hall. So there's Chicago Transit Authority, the album Chicago, which is quote unquote unofficially called Chicago 2, and then Chicago 3, an album that doesn't have as many, is an album of more deep tracks, but a great album nonetheless. I tend to love the Terry Kath stuff, whereas Susan tends to love more the Peter Cetera love songs. I know she was a big fan of Chicago 16, I believe it is. Hard to Say I'm Sorry, etc., etc. So, Chicago. I was impressed when she was playing the Terry Katz stuff one time. So that was pretty cool. All right. So, drink break. Now we move on. Top 5 bands / artists that one loves while the other hates. Unfortunate, but true. So the first honor, there's one honorable mention, and it's not a band per se, but more of a generalization. Country music in general. Sorry, I tried it. I don't like it. Many people say, oh, rock and hard rock and metal all sounds the same. Well, you know what? Country sounds the same to me. Sorry. So, number 5, Iron Maiden. Uh, yeah, so Susan, as you saw what she likes. She likes the Carpenters. One band I didn't mention, Reba, country artist Reba McEntire. She loves Reba McEntire. To go from the Carpenters and Reba McEntire to Iron freaking Maiden with a very ghostly Eddie and the devil on the cover. I could see it as a hate relationship for Sue. 666, the number of the beast. So that's number 5. Number 4, Reo Speedwagon. Now they started, believe it or not, they started out as a rock band until I'd say they wimped out in the late 70s, early 80s, and went to a more radio-friendly format with these lovey-dovey songs where Keep on Loving You and Don't Let Him Go and whatever. I, you know, Keep on Loving You, I think was the prom song at my high school, and I just hated it. Needless to say, I didn't go to that one. Reo Speedwagon, number 4. So number 3 was one that has always perplexed me. Susan's dislike or disdain for Jethro Tull. So granted, they have a big potpourri of different sounds. So there's some hard rock, there's there's folk rock, uh, there's an album, Aqualung in particular, where he kind of pokes fun at religion in general. But then there's folk rock, there's acoustic folk rock, and acoustic, how do you call it, Celtic folk, which is very, very light or very soft rock type music that, very mellow. So I just never understood why it just didn't catch on for Susan. But maybe it's what Ian says in one of his songs on the album War Child, where he says, with his lame brain antics and his jumping in the air, the song Only Solitaire. Who knows? Maybe it's just something about, uh, flute and rock and roll, which some people just don't think mixes. But you know what? He was going for a unique sound. He knew he could never be as good of a guitarist as Eric Clapton. So got rid of his electric guitar, picked up a flute, and the rest is, as they say, history. So enough about Jethro Tull. So now we're getting to our top 2 disdain bands. I think you know where I'm going with this next one. Journey. Can't do it. Never understood it. Just too lovey-dovey for me. Don't Stop Believing and Wheel in the Sky, a song that I just can't stand. Loving, touching, squeezing. Ugh. That's all I have to say about that. And then I'm sure Susan feels the same way about the number one. I drum roll, everybody, but I think you know where I'm going with this. Judas Priest. What's to like about Judas Priest for somebody who likes the Carpenters and the Beatles and Reba McEntire? A man wearing leather and driving up on stage on a Harley Davidson. Two guitarists flanking him with leather and studs and a lot of screaming guitars and double bass drums, etc., etc. But I love them. They've been a very important part of my life for a lot of years. So, Judas Priest, number one, and Sue hates them. So I rarely can ever play them in front of her. So that's why we stick to the bands that we like. Carpenters, Deep Purple. Oops, I missed Foreigner. Let's go back. Foreigner. The Beatles, the Eagles, Billy Joel, Chicago. I'm just going to go back and before we wrap this up, I'll show you the pictures one more time. I love these pictures. Very happy family. Hope it stays this way for a long time to come. And of course, so this concludes the wedding anniversary episode. I'll stop sharing. Or rather, before I stop, I'll stop sharing. Susan, happy anniversary. I love you, dear. Many, many, many more. Some good times to come. This is Jack Toledano speaking for All or Not According to Jack. Have a good night, all. See you again sometime. Bye.